Welcome to a fine gaming experience, everyone. Bricks here with my usual co-host.
Hey there, it's Ice, and no dung beetle today, so I am disheartened.
You're a flying grandfather or a little wiggler in the ground?
No.
No, you're none of the above.
It's not a satisfactory replacement.
Well, you know, we were trying out some different armor last time, and look how just very fashionable she is.
It's fur on metal on scale. Oh!
Yeah, fancy.
What a pose.
But, yeah, we're gonna take care of our mismatched colorness here and, get some better looking armor going.
That's good, because that's, I believe, one of the first times we've really gotten into that.
It is indeed. People have been mentioning it in the thread more than a few times, so I think it's time we showed this off.
When you're kind of building into a new area, you maybe just unlocked Iceborne, or maybe you just moved to high rank, you're going to have a lot of mismatched armor. In fact, probably all of low rank, your armor is going to look like hot trash. So layering your armor is a great system to make yourself look not like a schlub.
And it's just a layer of armor. It's not actually taking over your armor's properties or anything like that. It's just a skin.
Mm-hmm.
And we got that fancy diver suit we never really showed off much, so that'll be our running around gear for now. And we can change the colors on it.
Now, color changing is not 100% accurate. You cannot change every single color. Some pieces are just going to have like base tones that are based usually on a monster, but you can change a lot of the additional tones. However, layered sets are a little more friendly. So you actually find you can change quite a bit.
And we will get more options for colors down the line here. This is just what we get initially. And yeah, it's not the full set that's getting changed colors, just those little stripes, but it can be a neat accent on certain armor pieces.
I find a lot of the times when you're playing through the game, you'll find a set you really, really love, and you'll get a couple pieces and like, ooh, the colors of those are really good. All I need to do is just change a couple tones and I'll have a perfect set. And then you go in and you can only change like the underlayer color. And it's very, very sad.
The good news is they added a lot of layered armor recently for all the really cool looking armors.
Mm-hmm. And there are some amazing ones. One of my favorite sets in the game is the Gyro set. I just love how it looks. Then again, I'm a big fan of Plague Doctors in general.
And I will have some quests coming up I can unlock to get some very unique layered pieces.
We're getting to the point in the game where a lot of those extra quests are going to pop up. When events are run, a lot of quests will pop up and you're going to notice like they're going to be sitting in the rank 6, 7, 8 kind of ranks, and you're not going to have the hunter rank to do a lot of those early on. And as you play through and you do more content, you're going to unlock higher and higher ranks. Now, those quests are almost always to add extra features to the game, and they are meant to be high level because the things you're fighting in them are extremely difficult. So it's a pain to wait, but it's worth getting there.
If nothing else, the first time you try some of those new hard quests, you might bang your head against a wall just because you don't have the proper weapon or armor yet. Very soon we're going to have to start customizing our armor sets to take on very particular monsters.
One thing I do want to discuss here is sets and gear. Oh, that's so pretty. We're in a Winterfest right now. Winter in the middle of the summer.
Oddly.
Mm-hmm. But one thing I do need to talk about, and I think all of us just sort of need to learn, is the idea of these armor sets and weapon sets and building. Now, everyone's going to want to build their base set, and that's probably going to be something that is either going to boost your attack power or your defense or your critical hit rate. So those main things, your affinity, your attack power, your defenses, those are going to be the things you're going to want in your main set. Generally, most people will say in Monster Hunter, you get enough defense built into the weapon. You don't actually need to search for it that much, so it's mostly going to be attack boosts. But build a base set. and keep upgrading that set. For the start of the game, it's all anybody should do. I just wish once these bloody birds would do what they were told.
They are, just... It's kind of hard to do something against something 20 times their size.
That's true. Ah!
They're fine. It's a good thing we put on a breathing mask for this little chase.
High altitude combat.
Good old Pink Rathian.
Pink Rathian is one of the most annoying enemies to fight in the game, especially when you first meet him, mostly because of your weapons. You're not going to have the ability to cut through his tail unless you hit it in the exact right situation. And if you can't cut through the tail, then he can just keep hitting you with it, and he has got a nasty, nasty tail.
One thing I learned is very handy with the switch axe for this is using the sword with its mind's eye ability to pierce right through all those armored parts.
Good explosion.
Thank you. I think I really got the hang of the switch axe in this fight. I was doing a lot of hunting against generic creatures. If you saw the entire list I had of monsters that appeared there, I was hunting all those between these fights. And I was using the switch axe pretty much for all of it, got a lot of experience, and I'm still going to get my ass kicked a little bit here by Rathian, because it's a Rathian, but...
Of course. And that's a good estimation what people should expect. A switch axe is not an overly complicated weapon, so you do a number of fights with it, you will see marked improvement, especially if you already know the game. Uh-oh.
Saw right there, my weapon bounced off, and that was its back, even though it looked like I hit the tail.
Now, if you notice that flip, it was really hard to see from the perspective of the camera. Pink Rathian doesn't just do a backflip, he kind of does this weird spiral. Do you see that?
Yep.
That hits 3 different times in 3 different areas. It is absolutely imperative if you are an insect glaive user or you like to jump off walls that you watch out for that thing, because it will slap you out of the air.
Legiana just hanging out here, not really turf warring. I don't think these two do, but...
No, because I don't believe Pink Rathian actually calls this place its home. I believe Pink Rathian's home is actually the Wildspire Wastes. And I don't think creatures will turf war that often unless they're in home territory. I think the only one who breaks that exception is, well, one we haven't actually fought yet.
We got some exciting fights coming up soon, though.
One which I'm a little terrified for.
Poop does the job, though. Just throw poop at your enemies and watch them run away.
Poop does the job.
And there's our Grimalkin buddies just roping them down. And I started loving the Wild Swing. The Wild Swing, as mentioned before, leads into an easy, big, powerful hit for a sword, but also builds up that meter really well and does a ton of damage.
Now, I will say the Wild Swing, unlike all of your other attacks when you're using the axe, does use up stamina, so you can actually run out of stamina if you spam it too long. And hitting right at the base of the tail here will actually do damage to it.
My positioning's really good there, I find. Except for that part.
Well, that's fine. 32 out of 33 hits is not bad.
Really a good time for him to run away anyways.
The double roar is always interesting. I always feel that a monster would do a double roar when you've kind of knocked them through several phases when you should have only knocked them through one. Oh boy. Oh, the double aerial flash pod. Well done.
Before I even land, too. I thought that was quite snazzy. I was kind of hoping all the Grimalkins and Gajalaka up there would have been helping us as well. Didn't really throw any wonders our way, though. Knowing my luck, though, they might have just put me to sleep instead.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Gadulakas can be very helpful, but also very hindering. And they decide what to be until, well, I actually think that's an optional quest involving extra stuff, isn't it? And it's way later in the game that you deal with the Gadulakas, isn't it?
I have been collecting the Gadulaka markings in the background here to do the cultural exchange quest. And I am ready to do that at some point here in the background.
Okay.
I will probably record that, because that is a entertaining quest, to say the least.
It is. Oh, I believe the tail just got cut, did it? Or was that a wing?
He is currently embedded in the mushroom. You'll notice when I got... Yep, right there,
yeah.
the tail.
Those bonks are just so hard to deal with.
The nice thing is, your meter will slowly build back up on its own there. I'm almost in full sword bar.
And I would say Pink Rathian is not somebody you want to try to do your full elemental static discharge. If you do that discharge, you attach to the tail or what other part, he flies around so much he'll knock you off.
That tail mount, though, is amazing for something. Next time I pull it off here, I want to point it out, because doing the mount attack is fantastic with this weapon for a particular reason.
That was a lot of whiffing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, some of these weapon swings are very wide-arcing and slow. The good news is that spinning air move right there is fantastic for building up your sword bar so that you can do the extra elemental discharges. It's not the big damaging one, but it builds it up very fast.
Watch this damage.
And watch my sword bar. It's hard to notice on that one, but it will refill your sword bar a little bit, and basically, if you're not already charged up into elemental mode, almost fill it up from scratch.
Oh, wow. Ugh. Those scales. Now, if he was using a weapon, I believe with one higher level of sharpness on it, we'd be fine. Unfortunately, a lot of those weapons are not easy to find at this point.
The good news is, where I'm fighting him, I'm either flash-potting him into that mushroom, or I'm hitting him hard enough he keeps falling into it like that. It's quite effective just keeping him held in place like this.
Yeah, you're doing very, very good use of the environment here. Now that was dangerous.
Yes. I was kind of hoping the explosion would have gone off half a second earlier and knocked him out of the fire breath, but the good news is I had a bunch of flash flies here as well as flash pods, so...
I just saw the resuscitate effect go off. That thing goes off rarely, but when you do get it off, it gives you some big boost to your stamina.
I actually purposely put it on for this fight. Resuscitate kicks in every time you have a status ailment on you, and it increases your stamina regeneration, as well as one other thing, which I can't recall at the moment. And considering I will be lit on fire or poisoned quite a bit this fight, Resuscitate will be quite handy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, status ailments are one thing Rathian gives you plenty of.
And he's already dropping bits for me, which is a great sign.
Resuscitate improves your evasion and reduces your stamina depletion. I believe it gives you extra iframes, so it gives you that invulnerability, which is the same thing as the skill of Evade Window.
Which you were talking about before, and how useful it is with this weapon.
Absolutely.
Hence why it was a very good match.
I believe the Evade Window, you can get a lot of that on Legiana parts.
Now we get to do the wake up.
Now, there is a way to wake the enemy up with a really, really good attack. I'll see if you know what it... Oh, you do. You do.
I don't think I do it quite right, though, because I should do it more than 78 damage, I thought.
No, I actually think that was accurate. Unfortunately, it just didn't do that much. The problem is there are some weapons that just hit really hard in single hits. The hammer can do a good uppercut. The hunting horn's got a couple big bonk attacks. But so far, the undisputed king of wake-ups is the greatsword. If you can position your true charge slash right on top of the head, the damage you do is insane. That was a good fight, though. Absolutely good, yeah. I hate Pink Rathian. Just, you fight him like a Rathian, try to cut the tail off, and then he starts flipping around like a jerk.
Bit less flying around than the other ones were doing.
What in the...
He's got the, taunt shield going.
I never used that weapon.
I use it quite a bit. Actually, I've been doing so much side hunting at the moment, my Palico is getting a little too skilled, should I say. He's starting to get into the Iceborne abilities, actually.
Oh, wow. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't limit the ability to have your Palicos pick up those skills. If you install Iceborne, you're going to have the new skills just unlocked right off the bat, which I highly recommend using anyways. Like, if you're playing this game new, don't do what Brix is doing, try to avoid using any of the Iceborne abilities. You're just crippling yourself. And he's doing that so you guys get a good estimation of what the game should be like if you have just the base game.
Even though you get a lot of those extra goodies like the clutch claw and whatnot already thrown in now, I believe.
Subspecies to emerge. At least that's what the scholars said. All the same.
I don't know. I don't read many books.
Maybe he's eating too many flamingos.
This world would have something like ginormous flamingos. There probably is a giant flamingo in Monster Hunter.
I might know where that is.
I wouldn't be surprised. And here's Wolverine showing up finally.
At last he returns. I've been enjoying watching your exploits. Fine work, I must say. Well done.
Ha ha ha. He does that a lot. Ha ha ha.
Killed you to help instead of just watching. What
Ow,
for?
my hand.
You seem to have it covered. Here, I brought you some souvenirs.
Oh, I know it's opening up now.
Indeed.
Interesting. Where'd you get them? You know where you drove off, Big Ugly? Well, there's a spot further in there. And it's just loaded with these things.
For Big Ugly, they mean Zora.
It's like there's this energy pulsing inside them.
Wasn't just me then.
Zora was going to be heading towards that place, but we diverted him out towards the ocean.
Well, I intend to find out how. Raise your hand or paw if you're with me. Any of these jaggy brains up for a challenge? These two.
Wait, what?
I'm a Jaggy Brain?
Okay, you two. See you on
Why is she so bright?
I'll be at the tunnel.
It's the white outfit, it's just effervescent.
I hate waiting.
Could be.
Meanwhile, our Palico's dressed for summer.
Of course. Deep sea diving, summer, deep winter that never ends. You guys are a motley crew.
All right,
We're ready for anything.
Time for an expedition into the Everstream.
Now, back to my equipment rant. I need to describe something that is tantamount to the core of building in Monster Hunter. So, certain weapons do better carrying elements. That's just by design. That does not mean if you find a really cool greatsword that has fire damage on it, you shouldn't use it. It just means that the fire means less to a greatsword user than it would to, let's say, a dual blades user. Because dual blades users are going to get a huge amount of additional damage out of that additional fire. If you just sort of take all the damage they do from their normal attack power and their elemental attack power, it raises it almost exponentially compared to just taking a base weapon. Now, you should still have a base weapon, high affinity or high attack power. A lot of people like a lot of the Baroth stuff, a lot of the Diablo stuff. It has low affinity but super high attack power, and you can use all sorts of. We've looked at all the sorts of accessories that we can use. We've also looked into augments we can put on our gear With all of those things, you can balance out that terrible affinity loss and still get up to a positive.
This is a Baroth weapon I've been using right here, and we've been seeing just how much regular damage I can put out.
And I haven't seen too many of the blue numbers. Those are basically, we'll call them anti-crits. They're sort of weak versions of your attacks. If you have lower affinity than 0, it actually rolls to see if you're going to get one of these anti-crits, one of these small weak attacks to go off. And they're, I think, about 20 to 30% less attack power than your normal swings. You're buying a whole bunch of gunpowder here.
Getting ready for the future, but for the most part, I haven't been buying too many goodies from the sale. When I actually get to use my bow guns, we will see how much ammo I have been stockpiling.
That's good. That is good. You got to stay on top of that. Most missions will give you some very good basic ammo, so it's very easy to stay on top of your normals.
One of the reasons I've been saving the guns for later on, too, is they're a little bit more flashy later on. We'll get to see some better use out of it than we would just a tier 1.
I actually really like these boots. They're super simple and very cool looking. They kind of look like muck waders, but they've got lots of neat little detail in them.
I really like the fish scale design on them, especially the spike fins coming out the side.
Mm-hmm.
Not the most useful ones unless you're really hating water like I did when I started, but one of these times I will do a good comparison of what it's like walking through water or snow without them.
Yeah. And we were talking about, too, just earlier, the elemental boosts. This is one of the pieces of gear that actually comes with a water boost on it. And if you are going to use water weapons, which I actually don't recommend using that many water weapons, I'll get to that in a moment, it's still a good piece to equip. But water and ice, generally that weakness is shared by most monsters, and ice is almost always going to be the more damaging element. Water does have some very specific uses, though, so it's good to have, like, if you have a good weapon in your ones that you like, go ahead and use it. I love those goggles.
These goggles are neat not only for their look, but the skills on them. The base one here is really good if you're trying to hunt down stuff like the pearl oysters or some of the unique places on the map. The detector skill is fantastic for that.
And it's on almost no other pieces, isn't it?
No, it's super rare. I want to say this is the only piece that has it. Maybe one other or a charm. When we're trying to get the canteen ingredients we're missing, if you don't know where you have to go, this is almost essential to use. And finally, the Great Jagras set.
It just looks so low level. I don't even know what to call it. It's got this very, I'm new to the game, I killed the first thing I could see and just stuck it on my body look to it. But it's kind of cool.
I don't want to say shaggy, but it's very, yeah. It has that newbie look to it, you're right.
Not a lot of refinement.
It's been in so many of the cartoons and such people I've drawn for this game as well that it's almost iconic for that, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And the skills on it are kind of bleh. Like, Intimidator can be handy if you want to just scare off other monsters instead of using poop. Fortify is good if you want to die every now and then.
So is free meal.
Yeah, but not that great. Mind you, Fortify is actually a intended strategy for some really tough monsters later on when you're soloing them. Getting that extra attack boost each time you die can be pretty handy. Some of them will use it so they'll die, go back, restock on items, get the attack boost, and resume the fight.
Now, there are times in this game where you just got to eke out a victory with whatever you have got in your inventory.
I don't know why, I just really am a big fan of every single Kulu set we've seen.
It is a very unique style, and another thing that I do like about it is you can still see your character. They don't completely just shove a helmet on your face where you can't see anything. You can see their arms, if they got any body tattoos and stuff like that, and it's minimalistic. There's a few scarves which you're going to see sort of trail around. The boots are not my favorite, but the rest of the set's actually really cool looking.
If you mix and match, it gets very unusual.
It actually looks really good on the female model.
And the skills on it. Critical Eye, Stamina Surge, Weakness, like... Pro Transport is very handy for a few key missions.
Yeah, it's another one of those, like the Shamos goggles. Go ahead and make yourself the Kulu gloves just so you can grab an egg or two or a piece of meat and just get moving. If I remember correctly, it severely reduces your stamina reduction when you're running with one of those items. So you get a lot more run.
And item prolonger, so every time you use an item, it has an extra long effect. I want to say if you get all 3 slots from using the armor, it lasts an extra 1.5, if not double.
Wow. Now that is actually pretty decent. Now, a lot of the people who are out there looking into support, the Hunting Horn is the penultimate support weapon. It is built for support and dealing damage at the same time. But Sword and Shield users, especially those who decide to pick up skills like Mushroom Mancer and Wide Range, you're going to want to look into that skill.
Here's one of those armor sets where the male and the female are very different. This is what we got from Pink Rathian here.
Which is interesting, because it's not called a Pink Rathian set, it's called Rathheart. And if you actually look at the materials, if I remember correctly, a lot of the materials used to make this set are from different types of Rathians and Rathalos creatures.
And if you notice on the right there, this one also has a special set skill. Look at that skirt.
Actually, that is a battle ball gown right there. That is what that is. And I will give a little tip to everybody. Well, first, Evade Extender, which is super useful. Tool Specialist,
This is very good against fighting dragons.
That is true. I will say the effect on this is very useful against a specific monster. The final monster you fight in the main storyline is very susceptible to poison and has a lot of phases where they're extremely hard to fight unless you're playing with a ranged weapon. So poison is really good against them. I have soloed that monster many, many times with lots of poison effects.
They shortened the skirt for the beta version.
Which is kind of neat. It's a little more of a cute style rather than being so much of a ball gown. I do like the crown. It almost looks like literally a talon sitting across the head.
It's a very neat looking set in its own way. I'm not a huge fan of the skirt, but it's neat. And of course, our cat gets one.
It is that's a really weird looking set.
It's another one of the pretty Princess Palico sets. It's a good one, though, a slashing weapon that does poison, and it's got decent stats for it.
There's a good amount of poison damage on it, too, if I remember. It's somewhat around, like, 100.
I think it's 90 or so, but yes, very good. And next time, we get to try out a new weapon. It will be dual blades for anyone interested in seeing that joy.
Dual blades are a very iconic Monster Hunter weapon. They've been around for a while.
So I hope you all join me for that, and take care all.